Howdy, my name is Roger. I love my country, my truck, and Power Platform best practices. If you're serious about becoming a Power Platform solutions architect, join the Architects Accelerator. Now enough of my fake Southern accent, and let's hear from an actual participant of the program, Anna Black.
Hi, I'm Anna Black. I'm the creator of Power Platform Cookbook. I joined the Architects Accelerator because I saw a post from Magdalena and she was so positive and inspired me to join and see what it's all about. Before joining the accelerator, I was avoiding AI. And then when I saw how to apply AI and practice like soft skills, and it just like it really opened my mind to try different things for myself with different tools and everything. It really helps you to evaluate what you know and what you don't know, because when you are doing your job for like so many years, you might be missing a trick and like a different approach. So it really helped me to look at the problems from a different angle. And it was really great to meet with people and be like a part of another community and exchange ideas and so on. So yeah, lots of benefits that did change my life. So thank you.
The link is in the show notes, or go to untethered365.com to learn more.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is Mike Gowland and I am here with my co-partner rat in crime, John Russell. Say hello, John. Pause for dramatic effect.
Hello, how are you? We haven't recorded anything for a while, have we?
No, we haven't, because I went to Disneyland.
How was that?
That was magical yet tiring.
Okay. In a good way, the tiring bit, or in a...
Both.
Okay.
With a toddler, it's a much different experience.
Have you been before?
I went to Florida back in 2018. That's actually where I proposed to my wife.
Oh, nice.
But that was just us two. That was pre-child, and that was exhausting because we were walking everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're starting at like 6 in the morning and finishing at 11 at night. But now with a toddler, it's like, yeah, we're finishing at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But like I'm carrying myself and the toddler and the bags around the theme park. It's not fun. Anyway, sorry, we're getting on a tangent. Today we've got a fantastic guest joining us. It's Josh Giles. Josh is a seasoned expert in the Power Platform with a particular love of all things Power Apps. He's taken his deep technical knowledge and channeled it into a remarkable career journey, leading him to his current role as a solution architect. Not only is Josh passionate about building innovative solutions, he's also a strong advocate for digital literacy and loves sharing his insights with the community. We're excited to dive into his experiences and hear about the twists and turns that shaped his path to becoming the expert he is today. John, you totally GPT'd that.
Yeah, I did that one.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast, Josh. Also, massive congratulations. You have made finalist on... Is it finalist? Yeah, you are a finalist on the Community Rising Star Award.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. And thank you for having me on. Really excited to be here.
No, thank you for coming on to the show.
Josh, how does it feel about being nominated, first of all?
Yeah, I'm still in shock, to be honest. You know, I don't feel like something that I would have even seen coming. I've tried to ramp up my community involvement the past kind of year and a bit, and I'd never seen that kind of being something that I would be nominated for. So yeah, I'm extremely humbled about that. So I'm obviously sitting in a category that's I think going to have quite a bit of fierce competition, but it'll be great. And to see Sprint Zero as well amongst the nominees.
Has Sprint Zero been nominated? Really?
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for letting us know. It must be for the logo, mate. Surely it has to be for the logo.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
I mean, amazing, Josh. Like, really well done, pal. That's great.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's a big deal, that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you kind of got to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from I started kind of in IT support, right? So when I left college, I was basically needing to get a job, and I ended up getting a job at a company called Novatech in Portsmouth. So I originally stayed down at Portsmouth. I lived in Gosport originally. That's where I'm from.
No way.
Yeah,
I live in Eastleigh.
Awesome.
That's like That's like really close.
Yeah, and now I live up in Scotland, so I'm complete opposite end of the country. But yeah, I'm a southerner at heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started my career there doing IT support. Picking up computers into servers, dealing with customers. It was an interesting and quite fun experience, kind of getting into IT that way. But it was a very infrastructure type role. And then, did that for about a good 2-ish years, 3 years, I think. And then I decided to just take a complete break from IT. I thought, why not see what else is out there? I never really intended to go into IT. In actual fact, I wanted to join the military at the time, when I was younger. So I thought, okay, let's try something different. I ended up going into the construction trade. My dad's in that trade, so I ended up doing ceiling fixing and partitioning for a good year. I really enjoyed being hands-on, and it was great seeing things come to life. Like if you build a wall or a ceiling, you're seeing that actually come to fruition is really satisfying. I really enjoyed that part of it. So I did that for a year, and then decided, you know what, I want something completely different. I'm going to move up to Scotland. Just on a whim, decided to do that, as you do, I suppose. So moved up to Scotland, fell back into IT, doing more kind of like MSP work. So managing clients, all that kind of stuff. Fell into Office 365 at the time, which was quite interesting. Moved into another MSP type role after a year, where I discovered SharePoint, which at the time really fascinated me. I really liked what SharePoint was doing. This was at the point when SharePoint was going from classic to modern as well. So it was quite interesting to see that change, and it was. I was really looking forward to seeing all the modern stuff come into play. So did that for a good while, building intranets, document management, all the fun SharePoint stuff that you do. And then fell into, or then discovered Power Platform when it released, I think back in 2017. And that really kind of, I guess, piqued my interest, because I was able to then create things. I didn't need to have coding experience because I don't have any. I'm not a programmer. I never will be. And it was great because I could then just do all of this stuff in low code. So that really got my interest. And then, ended up moving into, a consultant role doing Power Platform, among other technologies like SharePoint and Nintex as well. And then landed my current role where I am now doing solution architecture and Power Platform. So it's been a steady kind of build up to where I am now, but a really interesting journey. And I'm so sort of humbled to be able to work with Power Platform day in, day out, because it's a real passion of mine.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned Novatech there, because it just brings back memories. I used to go Novatech all the time for PC parts. If I needed it there and then, I would just go down the M27, go to Novatech, and just go get it. Just because it was like the only good brick and mortar computer shop near us.
Yeah, it was. You had
it was either that or PC World, or it was maybe not. Like Novatech, literally, almost all the computers I built, I've actually went and got the parts and Novatech as well. So that was a nostalgic trip. What got you into that IT support role at Novatech in the first place? Was it just that you happened to come across the role there and you applied? Did you have you said you didn't really have an IT background or a desire to go into IT? What led you into that role in the first place?
Yeah, so I think at the time I was quite a big PC gamer. I used to like playing lots of PC games, and being young and in college, that was basically my entire kind of time was playing PC games, right? So, but I didn't have a good PC at the time. It was just a pretty poor performance laptop that was probably about 10 years old. So it was really limited. But I managed to end up building or putting together through like a hodgepodge of parts an actual PC tower at the time. And that was really satisfying. So that really interested me at the time, being able to build my own PC, seeing again the satisfaction of something come together and actually work. I was like, wow, it actually boots up and it actually works. I've managed to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing that when you get that for the first time.
Yeah. So being able to do that, I think that really kind of got me in, okay, well, I could maybe do something IT related. And at the time, I think I was on a summer holiday through college, I was just applying for lots of different things, and that role for Novatech came up, and I applied for it, and I got the job, and I was great. It was brilliant. It was a great experience to have.
Did you ever? You said you're a PC game. Did you ever frequent like there's a big LAN party they did run, but they've now started it up again down south called the Big Game. Did you ever
Big
go to
Game.
that? Or
I never went. It was always an aspiration of mine to go.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't even drive, so I think I was maybe 16-ish before I even found out about it. So
yeah,
I didn't have the opportunity to go. But always that, and was it Insomnia, the big massive one
Yeah.
in Sweden? There were like two.
that's right. Yeah.
I really wanted to visit and do at the time, but never got the opportunity. So.
Uh,
Have you been to that Big Game one, Mike?
Yeah, I used to frequent it. I still know quite a few of the organisers because it's they used to run it in a little village called Hedgend, which is like 10 minutes away from me. I still one of the guys who used to run it, James Taylor. He comes to the South Coast user group as well. I bump into him every so often. So yeah, it's just funny how that how that comes to be. You know, John. Sorry, guys, just need to pause the recording because John, your microphone has gone really quiet. Has it dropped off?
Still there.
Okay, that's fine. I'll put a marker in and we will continue. So I think John had the next question. Sorry,
okay.
guys.
So Josh, as you know, obviously the Power Platform's got so many layers so many ways to build on it, from citizen developers right the way to enterprise solutions. What one kind of insider tip could you give someone who's looking to transition from building basic apps? I say basic, but you know what I mean, like basic apps, to more complex enterprise grade solutions?
It's a really good question, and probably a subject I could speak to till the cows come home. Right? It's so open ended, but I think if you're looking at an enterprise application in the Power Platform, we've got to talk about Dataverse as a first and foremost thing. You know, if you're not learning Dataverse in Power Platform, then it's probably something that you should look into first and foremost. There's maybe a little bit of contention towards it, I think, because it's not SQL, it's not more traditional data management style storage, but I think it's fantastic at what it can do. The ability just to be able to pick it up and create these really robust data models is fantastic. And then when we actually look at the app side as well, I think most of us start on the Canvas app front, and that's certainly where I kind of cut my teeth on was with Canvas apps, and learning model driven apps alongside that is something that I think is important. There's sometimes an ability to overlook model driven apps, but the simplicity that it brings when coupled with Dataverse is brilliant. Being able to spin up a really quick app and say, there you go, is amazing. Yeah. They're still probably my favorite part of the Power Platform. However, that being said, having started to get a bit more background and learn a bit of user interface and user experience design recently, they're now starting to kind of, I guess, become a bit of a grey area, because they don't always necessarily follow best practice when it comes to UI UX, but they still hold a place dear to my heart. So to bring it back to what I think, definitely just keep learn all aspects of Power Platform. We're never going to learn and be masters in every area of Power Platform. It's so big. But pick something that you're passionate about and just stick to it, because you'll become the subject matter expert in that. And chances are you'll have a team around you, someone else who's passionate in another area, and you can all just lean on each other and really build something and amazing with that team of people around you.
So this is a question more to everyone, really. Like, do you think is there a niche that is being overlooked inside the Power Platform? And no, I'm not fishing for ideas from my next blog post. I'm just thinking, is there something that is not represented as well as it should be?
I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let Josh answer first.
It's a really good question, and everyone's, I think, is going to have a slightly different answer. I think for me, one of the biggest things that's overlooked just from every aspect is Power Apps cards. it's such a cool feature. It's such a cool bit of technology that has got so much potential, but it feels like another one of these great things that Microsoft say, here you go, and then just forget about for the next God knows how long. I think they're brilliant and they've got so much potential.
I don't think they've helped themselves. That was a good magic trick, John.
Yeah.
There was they haven't helped themselves in that the Power Effects implementation in cards isn't consistent with the rest of the experience in Canvas and in custom pages. It's so different that I think a lot of people go into cards with best intentions and probably just drop off because it becomes too complicated.
Yeah, it's not consistent with the rest of the experience, even from the authoring Canvas to how you actually build them. It's a little bit inconsistent. It's an odd choice in where they went with it.
It really is, yeah. And it's kind of it's not even like, because the command bar, that's also slightly different, but that's not too far off every other Power Effects implementation. But cards just seems to be like completely, like the way it handles variables, the way it handles data sources is just like, it's completely foreign to the rest of the Power Effects experience across the platform. It's just so weird that it's so different.
Definitely.
My niche I was going to offer up is custom connector, custom code, because I don't think we talk about it enough. And I know that's me dipping my pro code.
Is that a bit like what Paul Morano was talking about a while ago, like C# in a custom connector?
Exactly, yeah. So I've been working on a project. I've done some really cool stuff with code in a custom connector, because you can morph your requests and responses to APIs, but you can also just build functions in there and just call that in Power Automate and Canvas apps. I built a fetch XML parser, so you put in a JSON structure that gives you fetch XML out the other end, which is like, there's only certain use cases where you need it, but when you need to use fetch XML from a Canvas app, and pump that into Power Automate, it actually works really well.
Paul is selling his Power Tools thing on his website.
He is,
and I think he's doing quite well out of it. I think he's sold 600 copies of it, I think, or something. He
wanted to have a chat with me as well about it, so I'll have to follow that up. But I'm still getting over Disney.
Custom connectors are cool, right? Because you can do so much with them.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I find myself constantly having to work around things in Power Platform. I think it's just a day-to-day frustration, and if you're not learning elements of pro code, I think you can really hinder yourself, because you then have to stay in the confines of what Microsoft give you in Power Apps and Power Platform, and it's not always great. Let's be honest.
Can you give us an example of that, Josh?
I can use a recent kind of real-world example that I'm currently experiencing at the minute, and custom pages, they are like probably one of my most favorite things in Power Apps. Absolutely love them. But it seems like, I don't know if this is just a temporary thing with Microsoft or whatever it is, but the second my end users or the client's end users are starting to use custom pages in mobile or tablet, they just don't work for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you know when you open an app, you get the connector authorization screen. Well, that's not showing up on the Power Apps app for custom pages. So I put in a nice, really lovely homepage for them for a model-driven app to help them navigate to different aspects of it. But it launches fine, and then it just freezes. They can't do anything with it. So
because the connections aren't being established, right?
So you end up with this horrible thing. It's okay, well, I've just spent ages building this, but actually now I need to take it out and think about what else we can do. And then you end up thinking, well, this is just silly. I shouldn't have to think about that as even a problem in Power Platform. And here we are. So you end up losing so much time and other things as well. Like if you're wanting to build accessible apps and Canvas apps, right? We all know that if you do a pop-up, for example, in a Canvas app, it's not accessible. The screen reader won't read it properly. So you then have to think about, well, what are the alternatives? I don't really have any, so I need to start thinking about PCF components, because that's probably the only way I can make an app accessible with something like a pop-up. But wait a minute, I now need to learn HTML TypeScript, React, and Fluent UI to actually get what I want.
Yeah.
So, it becomes a real labour of love when you start thinking that at that level within Power Platform, I think.
And it's like a blessing and a curse, isn't it, really? Because if you didn't have those features there, like, you just wouldn't be able to achieve it at all. But the fact that those features require you to go through that steep learning curve and dive into pro code, it somewhat can go against the nature of a low code product.
Exactly.
But I think that was their intention all along, is that in the ideal scenario, you've got these, whether they want to call them citizen developers, whether you call them makers, you've got those guys, but then you've also got your existing pro code people who are there to support the platform as well from a pro code perspective. But you don't always have that, right? You have probably more makers than you do pro coders.
Yeah, that's right. I think, there's definitely an imbalance. I think anyone can really pick up the low code side. Power Effects isn't overly difficult to pick up, I feel. If you know Excel, you kind of pick up Power Effects.
Yeah.
But the second you then have to bridge that gap, if you don't have any programming experience, you are literally at the learning curve that's so steep, it's crazy. It's, for someone like myself, I don't come from programming at all. To get JavaScript to finally click, it took a monumental amount of time to actually understand that.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I was familiar with. I did PowerShell before, but that's scripting. It's slightly different. And there are some elements of, okay, I know that I can kind of see where this is going, but I can't really understand the fundamentals of it. And then you've got to learn HTML on top of that. So it's not like you can just learn JavaScript and get by. A lot of the time you've got to learn the HTML side as well, which again, I had no experience going into this. So, but on the plus side, I've learned so much through some of these barriers that Power Platform have given me that I think it's in some ways a good thing.
It's quite cool, isn't it, when you have limitations set on you, how you can come up with solutions around it. And that probably ties into our next question, actually. So since Power Apps is your technical playground, what's the most innovative app you've built, and how did it push the boundaries of what you thought was possible with the platform?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I've built and architected a lot of apps. I think one of the most interesting apps for me that I've built recently, I say recently, probably within the last year, it was a Power Page project, actually. So, it was a great opportunity to understand Power Pages in a bit more detail. Although, again, you have to leverage pro code to actually get it to do what you needed to do.
That's basically a requirement of Power Pages, I think.
Yeah. Low code websites, it's just, okay, if you want something really, really simple, but the second you want something more difficult, you've got to use pro code. So it was a great exercise in that. So that the premise of the app was basically to forecast and manage stocks for distributors in the food and drink industry. So it was great. So you had obviously external vendors coming in, logging in what levels of stock they had, and it'd ping out a report effectively for the next 12, 24, 36 months, telling you what was there and what they'd need to do so that things like demand planning could happen and stuff. So it's really cool. One of the key learning points for me, and probably one of the boundaries, was they needed a bit of an Excel-like spreadsheet type view, so it wouldn't work with a traditional grid and list type thing or form.
Yeah.
So it needed an Excel type thing. So we have the editable grid in model-driven app. Relatively, as the old classic one's been around for a while, but the new one certainly's not been around for that long. But that felt like that kind of fit the bill quite well. So I had to kind of try and implement that in Power Pages. And you can use the code component stuff for that as well, which I did. And it was great. It worked. And then Microsoft changed the version, or they changed something, and they just stopped working. Typical day-to-day that we work with, right, in Power Platform. So ended up we had to can that, and we had to use an actual, I think it was a JavaScript library or whatever you want to call it, to put a different table in instead, and then use the web API to Dataverse to get it to work. But the outcome was it worked great. It worked a lot better than the model-driven implementation did. It allowed us to be flexible with things like header names and stuff, which are pretty painful to change in model-driven apps and Power Pages.
Yeah.
So it was great. So and then we had the model driven app side of that, obviously hooked back into Dataverse. We used a model driven app side which allowed account managers and stuff to view all of those figures, amend them, and interact with their clients effectively. So it's a great kind of merging of Power Platform technologies, the Power Pages and model driven apps, Power BI, Power Automate workflows. It all just came together in a really neat package. It was really satisfactory to see that kind of go live.
That is awesome. I love it when, like Mr. T says, love it when a plan comes together and you can put all that together and it works. It's great.
Yeah, nice one. So I don't know, Josh, if you've listened to the podcast at all, but we've got a section called Uncomfortable Corner.
Oh, bloody hell, you skipped a question, John.
No, I didn't.
We skipped like 2 questions.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
No, hold on. Look, I've done that one.
I've just asked the second question.
I asked the Power Platform with so many layers. I've done that one. So you were supposed to, okay. So, well, yeah, for Christ's sake.
We're a professional outfit here, Josh.
Yeah.
That nomination for the Community Awards is well placed.
Well, then, Mike, your question, Mike. Sorry.
So, your journey to becoming a solution architect sounds fascinating. Congratulations again for being nominated for the Community Rising Star Award. What was the pivotal moment or project in your career that made you realise you were ready to make that step up to solution architect?
Yeah, it's another good question, because even to this day, I sometimes feel I'm not ready for that. I suffer a lot from the imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us do, actually. And I think for me, it was just taking that step into the unknown. I never knew when I applied for my current role at Bridgel whether I was going to get it or not. I was doing a lot of work within Power Platform, but for me, it was just a case of, I don't know if this is going to be a good fit or this is what I'm ready for. But you don't know unless you try. The worst that could happen is that they say no, I get pushed back, and that's okay, because I'll just try for something else. Everything kind of aligned, I think, just through my experience going from infrastructure into SharePoint, into Power Platforms, being able to round out that knowledge, and then also having experience in multiple consultancy type businesses and also internal roles as well, kind of helped kind of shape that. So probably no pivotal moment as such. It was more just a case of, let's try it and see and hope for the best. And it played off. And, I think being in my current role, it's helped me grow massively. The biggest thing for me is just that I'm able to continue learning and continue developing into that role. And also understanding important things like how to communicate with clients. John, I know you've spoken about that a lot before, about building rapport, and that was a really fascinating aspect. And part of solution architect, I think, is you've got to be quite a generalist, but the communication, in my opinion, makes up the most of being a successful solution architect. You need to be able to be a good communicator with both internal and external teams to really succeed in the role.
I said to someone once, it's like being a pub landlord. Like, you need to know a little bit of skill, a little bit of knowledge about everything, so you can talk to everyone.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of changing for, I suppose, for consultants. It's a little bit different, but finding a niche as a consultant, I think, is a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And dialing down on that, basically. Yeah, nice. Okay, so now we can get finally to this bit. Go on then, hit it.
I thought you were going to do the...
Do you mean to intro it? Okay, that's probably a good idea.
How long have we been doing this podcast for, John?
I don't know.
Jeez.
I think the last time we recorded it was with Sean and Franco, and some of their expertise has rubbed off on me. Right, anyway.
No offense, Sean.
Yeah, sorry, Sean.
Thanks for the sponsorship.
Thanks for the sponsorship. Cheers. Josh, we have a section called Uncomfortable Corner.
Uncomfortable Corner.
So, Josh, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable in or outside of work? Could you kind of explain how you felt, how you managed to get through it, and what you learnt about, yourself, your skills, your emotions, and what would you do differently or the same if you were in a similar position next time?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's probably not probably a day where I don't feel uncomfortable about something, right? It's a pretty common emotion and can be quite challenging to tackle. One of the experiences I want to lean on is probably one I had a while back, which was dealing with an internal project team and just of differing opinions. So we'd worked on a project, Canvas that project. It was going really well, and then all of a sudden we had the big massive blocker in that a lot of the controls had just stopped working for no reason at all. I think there was something to do with components as well, but there was a bit of friction there between the internal teams because from, the developer perspective, they didn't want to go and have to change all of this stuff because they could say, we can, try and make it work. From my point of view, the kind of idea being that it needs to be a very polished solution for a client. We can't cut corners here. So I think it was quite uncomfortable trying to navigate that with a more junior developer when they think they're right and you think you're right. How do you kind of come together to get a solution? So I think in the end we just kind of just bowed out, really, not fisticuffs type thing, but just getting a direct conversation about what is it we need to do, and let's keep focus on what it is we're delivering to the client to get it right, because that's the most important thing for me. Someone that's extremely passionate about Power Apps and Power Platform, everything that I do deliver with, probably quite a bit of personality to it. So for me, if an app that I deliver doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, then I take that to heart because, that's my reputation, or, that's the company's reputation ultimately, but it was me that was responsible for the app. So it has to look right. So, when we start going down that kind of route, and actually we had that conversation, would you be happy with that, being delivered to yourself if you were the client? Well, probably not. Well, there we go. Let's rethink that. Let's just eat the time that it's going to take to redo all of this and do it right. And I think that's, again, just down to good communication and actually dealing with the problem. I was saying this to Griffin last night, is that as people in the UK, we can be quite good sometimes at being quite passive or kind of skirting around problems, whereas sometimes you just need to be direct about the thing, right, and have that uncomfortable conversation. The key is not to take it personally and understand how you can learn from it. Accept when you're wrong, accept that, and learn from it. We're not always right. I make mistakes all the time, but what really helps is just saying to yourself, well, do you know what? I got it wrong. Let's move on from that. I'll learn from that mistake and I won't do it again. And that's what helps you to, well, one, grow as a person, right? But also two, grow more into your role, whatever it is you're doing.
It's an epidemic in the UK, isn't it, that we skirt around issues and don't sometimes take full responsibility and just hands up. Great example. My wife bought something called a Loungefly bag. Do you guys know what that is? So
Nope.
This is following on from going to Disney. They're everywhere. They are these, and it's not actually here because she's actually using it, but they're these tiny impractical bags, like rucksacks, that literally that big, but they've got Disney print all over them. They're designer bags. We've got one off Vinted for a really good price. She was labelling my son's preschool clothes with a permanent marker to say that they're his, and got permanent marker on this bag, which are like 120, 130 quid or so to buy. First thing she does is blame me. It wasn't me that was touching the permanent marker. Hang on. But what you said as well about just sort of being direct and not taking that on the almost taking it on the chin and not taking it personally. We talk about that with Radical Candor, don't we, John? Being able to there's another book as well, similar to Radical Candor that I've listened to. It's about how to say anything to anyone, and it's having that. You make an agreement with somebody that you are going to be direct and candid with them, and you expect them to be direct and candid with you. And by setting that expectation early on, you don't, you're not going to feel attacked when somebody's like direct with you about something, because they have to be direct with you about something because something's not going right or something's going really well, like whatever it is. So yeah, absolutely get that. And definitely, that sort of stuff can be uncomfortable, can't it? But it sounds like you navigate it really well, Josh.
I try my best. Right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. It's a really good skill to have, and part of why I wanted to be more involved in the Power Platform community was to help with a lot of this stuff. I feel if it wasn't for being more involved, I wouldn't have come out and challenged myself to the degree that I have. Public speaking, something that I could never have dreamed of a few years back. So to be able to go out and do virtual events, do in-person events, actually go to things like conferences and meet people, it's something that I've always struggled with, but I'm navigating it quite well. And I think it helps as well. The Power Platform community is so open, diverse, and welcoming.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't for that, I certainly wouldn't be in a good position that I am now when it comes to things like communication and stuff.
Yeah. I totally resonate with all of what you said there. And yeah, I think a few years back, I would have found it quite difficult to go to like conferences and stuff because my confidence wasn't very good then. But you're right in like how people are just, quite open and willing to chat. And what I also like is there's not a lot of small talk. Now, I'm not a massive fan of small talk. There's like you get to the crux of the conversation quite quickly. I love that. So yeah, Josh, thank you very much for sharing that. That's probably all we've got time for today. You can find Josh on LinkedIn and on his website, joshlgiles.com. Also on the UK communityawards.com website. Strongly recommend.
Sprint Zero.
Strongly recommend voting for them. So links to resources mentioned in the episode will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by our good friend Ken Light Fit, and you can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can also find in the episode show notes. Additional music used in the episode is credited there as well. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss the next episode, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a follow on LinkedIn. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you very much. This has been Sprint Zero, and we've been Mike Gallen. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.
Josh Giles. Say goodbye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
Cheers, mate. And I'm John Russell, and we'll see you on the next episode of Sprint Zero. Thanks.
Bye for now. Love you, John.
Love you, Mike. Love you, Josh.
Love you, Josh.
I'm Sean. I run the Architects Accelerator. It's an 8-week training program to help you become a solutions architect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how awesome it is. We're just going to hear from previous participants.
My name's Mike Colling.
My name is Sander.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Luke.
Hi, I'm Callum. I work as a senior functional consultant.
I signed up for this because it sounded something that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
And that's what I liked about this course, is that we were focusing about taking the right requirement and proposing to the customer the right solution.
It's showing how to use the whole platform and how to build better solutions that could last a long time.
I don't have a background in software, and given that it's changing so fast every single day, I needed a guided way of learning. If the solution architect is the direction I want to go, I have taken something from every day of those classes and have applied them to my work.
Found it really useful and I really enjoyed it.
Use promo code SPRINT0 to get $50 off.